their cuts, and they waste no time with some of the latest moves. Quite frankly, it started as early as last night. We're going to break that down in this video. Before I jump into it, if you haven't subscribed yet, please take a second to do so. Okay, so let's jump into it. Some of the biggest questions coming into today as the Packers chip away down to that 53-man roster were, what is our wide receiver room going to look like? This is a very deep and talented wide receiver room for the Packers. So who's going to get cut? Who's going to make the 53-man roster? We get clarity to some of those questions already for the Packers. What about the kicking situation in Green Bay between Anders Carlson and Greg Joseph? We get clarity there. What about the running back situation in Green Bay? A.J. Dillon was the clear number 2 guy heading into the preseason, but with the emergence of Emmanuel Wilson, what is that running back room going to look like for the Green Bay Packers? What about the quarterback situation with Michael Pratt and Sean Clifford? We get clarity to that last night, and we'll start there. Obviously, the Packers, as you have heard, have traded with the Tennessee Titans for Malik Willis. Obviously, the coaching staff and Brian Gutekunst did not feel comfortable with either Michael Pratt or Sean Clifford to get a clear number 2 position behind Jordan Love. Jordan Love, obviously the clear starter in Green Bay, but there is no insurance policy because neither guy looked the part. The Packers trade for Malik Willis. I think it's a very good move for the Packers. A little bit shocked to hear that that Brian Gutekunst, traded to go and get Malik Willis. He does not part ways easily with his draft capital, but I think it's a very solid move for the Green Bay Packers, getting a clear number 2 guy, Malik Willis, in Green Bay as the backup quarterback. What about the kicking situation in Green Bay? Anders Carlson, the former starter for the Green Bay Packers, obviously in competition with Greg Joseph. This is the only time that I can remember in my lifetime that watching a kicking competition has been so exciting to see, because I wanted Anders Carlson out, especially watching him this preseason. Anytime he was kicking it, it was slicing in. He did not give me any confidence to be the clear number 1 guy in Green Bay. A lot of people would question that Greg Joseph is not the number 1 guy. I think otherwise. I think Greg Joseph is a little bit more of that veteran presence. I feel comfortable with him being the kicker in Green Bay. Anders Carlson is cut. Greg Joseph is the starter going into week 1 in Brazil against the Philadelphia Eagles. So what about the wide receiving room in Green Bay? Samori Toure is cut. Doesn't come as a shock because this is a very deep and talented wide receiving room. Samori Toure is a good option, and he's going to land somewhere, just not in Green Bay. And I mean, unless the Packers, obviously I'm sure we'll try to get him on the practice squad, but I don't see him lasting there. He is too good. So the Packers, obviously with Christian Watson, Jaden Reed, Romeo Doubs, Dontavian Wicks. Does Bo Melton make the team? I think he made a good case for that argument against the Baltimore Ravens with that circus catch in the end zone. And Malik Heath, I think, is going to make the roster. Obviously, he's had a very strong output of production this preseason. So let's take a look at the latest tracker that we have coming out of Green Bay with the cuts. You've got, of course, we've talked about the wide receivers gone. Samori Toure is cut. Julian Hicks is gone. Dimitri Stanley is cut, along with Jalen Wayne. Offensive linemen, you've got Caleb Jones cut. You've got Luke Tenuta cut. The biggest shock for me is Welch. Welch is one of those guys that I did not anticipate. I'm sure a lot of Packer fans out there didn't anticipate Welch being cut. This dude was outputting a lot of good production this preseason, so a little shocked to see that cut. So stay tuned for more cuts coming. What's the biggest surprise? I want you guys to leave your comments. What's the biggest surprise of a cut for the Green Bay Packers? To me, honestly, looking at that list right now would be Welch. Samori Toure didn't surprise me. Anders Carlson really at the end of it didn't surprise me. Welch is the biggest surprise for me. Leave your comments. Let me know what you think. Stay tuned. There were more roster cuts coming, but as always, go Pack Go.